Today we're going to be talking about how depression is like quicksand and the sneaky ways in which it can trap you and make it difficult to escape. Hi everyone. Depression is a very common and extremely challenging psychological condition in which it can often feel like there's no way to escape and that things will never get better. You may have well-meaning friends try to encourage you with things like, you just need to cheer up, or you just got to get out there and be more engaged in life. The problem is, when people are suffering from depression, they can often feel so stuck and trapped that it feels like there's nothing they can do to feel better. I call this depression quicksand, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. But before I get into that, just a couple of disclaimers to go over. I'm a registered psychologist in the province of British Columbia, Canada, and this video is for informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute or replacement for advice from your doctor or mental health professional. Now, with those things out of the way, let's start talking about depression quicksand. Now, I want you to imagine a really strange and odd scenario. Suppose I were to offer you $10 million if you were able to make yourself feel as depressed and awful as you could for an entire day. So the goal is to try and drive your mood down and drive your motivation down and make you feel discouraged, hopeless, and depressed. And if at the end of the day, if you're successful in making yourself feel extremely depressed, you get the $10 million. So what do you think you would do in that situation? What would be some of the things that you would do to try and make yourself feel as awful, discouraged, hopeless, and depressed as possible? Well, let's start at the beginning of the day. You wake up in the morning. What would be the first thing you might do? Well, one of the first things you might do is nothing. You may stay in bed, pull the covers over your head, and just lie there thinking about the various problems or challenges that are likely to come up in the day. You might find yourself getting anxious and discouraged as you think about all of the things that you haven't been doing and all of the tasks that you're behind in. And then you might start thinking about how this is all your fault and how if you were just more efficient or more disciplined, you wouldn't be so behind in things and you wouldn't have so many problems. And so you stay in bed thinking about all of these things for half an hour or an hour. That's likely to make you feel pretty bad. So what's the next thing you might do? Well, you probably call in sick to work because you don't want to face all of the things they have to do that day. And you tell yourself that there's no point in going into work because you would just screw things up anyway. And after you call in to work to tell them that you're not coming in, making up some excuse about having a cold or a flu, you then beat yourself up for being such a liar. And you get down on yourself for taking advantage of your employer's generosity. So what would be the next thing you do if you wanted to continue making yourself feel terrible? Well, you may go back to bed, pull the covers over your head, and just try and avoid the day as much as you can. But as you lie there, you just think about all of the negative things in your life and how you're just wasting away another day. So you may eventually get up, but you wouldn't get dressed. You'd probably wear the same clothes that you went to bed. If you wanted to feel worse, you would go to all of the windows and close all of the blinds and curtains because you wouldn't want to have any light shine in. So there you are in your dark home wearing clothes that you wore to bed, puttering around, but you wouldn't want to engage in anything that would give you any sense of purpose or accomplishment or achievement. You wouldn't do the dishes in the sink, you wouldn't do the laundry, you wouldn't have a shower or brush your teeth. If you wanted to feel even worse, you probably wouldn't prepare any food, at least nothing healthy. You may go into the pantry and pull out a bag of potato chips, sit on the couch and eat some while you watch some trashy TV for a little while. After an hour or so, or more than that, you may have an empty bag of potato chips sitting next to you, and you probably feel pretty awful because you've just downed an entire bag of potato chips yourself, and you start beating yourself up for eating like a slob and blowing your diet. You might get a telephone call from one of your friends at work who's checking in to see how you're doing because they heard that you called in sick. But you avoid answering the phone and avoid responding to their text messages because you think that they're doing it out of some sense of pity or just trying to be nice. Or maybe they're checking in on you for the employer because the employer's wondering if you're playing hooky from work. You question why anyone would want to talk to you, and maybe you start thinking about relationship difficulties you've had with other people in your life and how you seem to be the common problem in all of the relationship difficulties you have. You review text message arguments you've had with your partner and beat yourself up for not being a better or more supportive to your partner. You may have planned to go to the gym after work, but you don't bother going because you have to get changed and showered and put on appropriate clothes to be going out. And that would be too much work. And you don't want to be around other people. You just want to keep to yourself. So by the end of the day, you haven't really accomplished anything. Haven't been outside, haven't seen the light of day, haven't been around other people. You've puttered around your home in clothes that probably don't smell very good by this point, and all you've eaten all day is a bag of potato chips that are making you feel pretty awful. You spent much of the day thinking about all of the ways you're failing in life and all of the people you're letting down and what a screw-up you are. And then you go to lie down to go to bed, but because you haven't really done very much throughout the day, you don't feel very physically tired, and so you just lie there in bed, having difficulty falling to sleep as you dwell on all of the awful, useless, and pointless day you just had. Imagine yourself going through that scenario that day. How do you think you'd be feeling by the end of the day? Well, you'd probably be feeling pretty awful. You'd probably be feeling pretty depressed and discouraged and hopeless and terrible. And congratulations! You would get that $10 million because that was the goal that you were trying to accomplish. So the idea is those are all of the things that you might do if you were trying to make yourself feel more depressed, discouraged, and down. Now imagine this scenario. Imagine that you wake up one morning and you already feel down, depressed, or stuck. What would you be tempted to do? What would you be thinking about at the start of the day? Well, chances are your day may go a very similar way as the one I just described. If you were trying to make yourself feel depressed for $10 million. You may be tempted to stay in bed, not go to work, not get dressed, not go out to exercise, isolate yourself from other people. You may spend a lot of your time thinking negatively about yourself, thinking about failures, lost opportunities, things that aren't going well in your life. The difference is you're not doing these things intentionally to try to make yourself feel worse, but you're doing these things and thinking in these ways because you don't feel you have the energy, the drive, the motivation to do anything else. It's almost like the depression takes control and guides your behavior accordingly. So you see, this is depression quicksand. When a person is feeling bad, when a person is feeling depressed and sad and down, they usually end up doing the things and thinking in ways that make them feel worse. It's like you're stuck in quicksand, and all of your efforts, everything you do, just sinks you deeper and deeper into that depression quicksand. Everything you're tempted to do, every way you're tempted to think when you're feeling depressed, is all aimed at making you feel even more depressed. This is the insidious nature of depression. And for people who are experiencing depression, this isn't something that's within their conscious control. It's not something that they're intentionally doing, but more something that is happening to them and being driven by the depression that they're experiencing. You see, the key point is that people who are depressed aren't trying to feel worse. This isn't to say that people who are depressed are engaging in self-sabotage or self-loathing and wanting to make themselves feel bad. This is neither a conscious or an unconscious process, but rather an automatic effect that's being driven by the depression itself. So if you find yourself in this depression quicksand, the key is to try and break that automatic process and to interrupt the behavior patterns and thought patterns that the depression is trying to get you to do to make yourself feel even more depressed. And the first place to start with this is to give up on the bigger goals or expectations or requirements of yourself, and to start by doing the opposite of what the depression is trying to get you to do, but doing this in small and achievable ways. And I've done a number of videos on this idea of giving up and goal setting and behavioral activation to help overcome depression, to interrupt this depression process and to help get out of the depression quicksand. So I hope you take a look at some of those videos if you're interested in learning more about this. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a better sense of kind of the sneaky ways that depression works to trap you in the depression quicksand and to sink you even more into depression. I'd love to hear your thoughts or ideas or questions about this, so please leave me some comments in the comments section down below. If you've been enjoying my videos and would like to see more, please hit that subscribe button and notification bell, and you'll be alerted every week when I post a new video. So that's all for today's video. As always, thank you for making it all the way to the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one.